Your Pocket Sage just broke up with you over Discord. CS2 isn't hitting the same as Go. Your league match history is all red, and your hard stuck Garyu in Tekken. Overwatch. You try to play some other slower-paced game to get away from it all, but it just isn't hitting right. You need something different, something that gets the blood pumping, something that solely relies on you, but scratches that competitive itch. No team, and not even a direct enemy. You want to be the hermit that achieves mastery on his lonely, legs open, not smiling, pussy facing the world, but you don't know what medium to do it with. Well, you could pick up martial arts or start lifting weights and achieve mastery of your body like a normal person, or maybe pick up another traditional hobby like an even normaler person. But you're not normal, no. You're not a beta tester or a cheater. You're a beater, and beat you shall. But what shall you beat? The competitive format of single-player games is really interesting as your opponents aren't real. There isn't anything you can do to hinder them directly, and there isn't anything they can do back. There isn't a loser in any of these games unless you make yourself one. Or, like, you actually lose the game. It's you and the conversation between you and that stupid dev that made the game like this. You and the guy that's just a couple points, a couple seconds ahead of you. It's you and the guy who keeps running into those bullets like a complete idiot. Now, with the way I've been talking, you must think I'm some hermit master super player who will destroy anything requiring fingers, but I actually have no talent at all. Not in competitive games and not in single-player games, but I am in way too deep to not have the knowledge and the culture to introduce you to these beautiful specimens right here. So I, gaming's beacon of love, light, hope, and peace, your Star of Bethlehem, if you will, am here to guide you to being a weirdo nerd with a special interest in proving yourself. Alright, let's get the most obvious one out of the way fast. Speedrunning. You take a game you like and you beat it quick. Just hold W, right? Wrong, fucker! Any popular speedrun game has a pretty tightly established meta, whereas new games are an arms race. That arms race being routing and exploits, which will be a running theme in this video. The only real caveat is that if you like engaging with the content like intended and don't just want to bend it over and break it, you'll have to do glitchless or pick a game that's pretty damn polished and made for speedrunning. Oh, you want history? Replay files, nightmare, speed demos, streaming, GDQ, boom. Time? Fuck, why am I trying to make a script for this part? Just watch Summoning Salt. Another thing that's speedrun adjacent is time trials, which actually started with real life. I really love when speed games have leaderboards per level so you can compare and contrast with your friends and top players. It's like built-in speedrunning, but on a much smaller scale, so you can enjoy the thrill without committing to beating an entire game in one sitting. Not everyone has the time or attention span to run a whole ass hour 30 of Mario. Trials are also super big for the Sims of the stuff that Trials originated from as well. Who would have fucking thought? Also, who cares? Cars are for nerds. Next. This is the simplest form of leaderboarding, and the best ones of these are usually tacked on to a bigger game with like fucking levels. Gross. Nah, but this is a really cool way to recontextualize an already great combat system and make it infinitely replayable for the freaks who want to grind out a single-player game. You don't exactly have to bend the game over either. The end goal isn't reaching the end, it's usually killing, so you can't skip or clip out of that. Since the scoring system is in the game, you don't have to worry about if your time is accurate or if you're uploading your run for legitimacy on a third-party site. It's usually just all there, and the hardest amount of routing you have to do is memorizing the types of waves that can spawn. See, when you think wave-based, you think it's a side mode or it's co-op. You're probably thinking something along the lines of chilling with your friends in whatever zombie game you're playing at the time. Yeah, but the mere mention of a higher number than yours could make you petty enough to break through, who knows. One game that I had initially thought was a wave-based game was this little thing called Hyper Demon, the sequel to Devil Daggers. It's this crazy, psychedelic 360 FOV FPS game with a lot of buzzwords, and also a really peculiar way to progress the game where the better and faster you are, the more fucked the game will get right off the bat. There are technically dedicated spawns and requirements to spawn them, but they will overlap, and the timer, which is also your score, is constantly ticking down. It's as fast as you are and as hard as you can be. Reminds me a lot of Caravan Shmups. Oh hey, the next section. Okay! Shmups are not the most popular games to speedrun because of auto-scrolling, which theoretically is a huge drag for speedrunners. But as a shmup enjoyer, it means the game's pace is as beautiful as the devs can make it. But what's my name? How am I supposed to know how much better than you I am if I'm not faster than you? let me introduce you to a relic of the past called score. A typically irrelevant stat, as most high-level play now consists of speedrunning. But by design, you don't control the pace of the screen in a shmup, so high-level play relies on score, and games are designed and balanced around their scoring systems, whether simple or complex. Scoreplay in arcade games and speedrunning have a lot in common, where you learn to play a game optimally and strategize around routing. The difference is, only some games are built with speedrunning as the high-level play in mind, these being some of the best, and some games are Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories. Most of scoreplay in arcade games is intentional. Even from the start of a game, shmups often have different ships and options, some suited to survival play, and others more suited to scoring. One of mine and many's favorite shmups, the Dodonpachi series, has a very heavy emphasis on chaining entire levels. It's kind of like the combo system in Streets of Rage 4 or Pizza Tower, where you can potentially chain the entire stage and end up with a massive combo for basically knowing when and where and how to optimally kill and never stop killing. And for someone who basically only does survival clears, watching high-level play for any of these games is mesmerizing. And there's an infinite amount of scoring systems, so whether you like grazing, or strategically self-destructing, or whatever the fuck is going on in Hellsinker, there's probably a shmup for you. This type of scoring isn't really limited to shmups though, as high-level beat-em-up and run-and-gun play is also very tightly linked to scoring, and is much more suited to speedrunning. So go ahead and run some SOR4 or pick up a
heavy machine gun
if you want the best of both worlds. High-level play is also surprisingly well documented. Well, you won't find Joe Schmo who's got his high score in Raiden 2 at the laundromat all those years ago. You've got people like Jamers who upload pretty consistently with some helpful commentary. I know the PS2 port of Daigo came with a DVD that actually contained runs from super players at the time. And of course, there's many exploits to boost your score as well, pivotal to competing with high scorers. Speaking of which, there's this really interesting story about DDP's double GP glitch, which was discovered in the 90s, but Japan kept it a secret for decades until it was replicated in the West fairly recently. I'll link a video explaining it somewhere down there, but it's really funny stuff when an entire country withholds information on game exploits of all things from the rest of the world. Rhythm games are also a pretty competitive genre where people bust their asses to get FCs and get every note down to a T. Although the only one that I've played that has more than just leaderboards is a little game called Osu. PP is Osu's version of ranked points. The more you have, the closer you are to being the #1 player. PP farming is a way to play Osu where you pick a specific beat map and dump mods into it to bolster the amount of PP you get from completing it. Those certain beat maps are usually ones with a lot of jumps, and ones made by this guy. Now, I really respect people who try to get into games and play just to get better, but PP farming in Osu is a little controversial. It's a lot less noble of a way to express your love for the game, and more of an ego inflator because the amount of PP you get and the rank that you have isn't an accurate display of your skill in Osu, like it can be in other ranked games, as the maps are usually not as creative or lacking in complexities that other maps have. But hey, Osu Laser and the new scoring system's getting constantly worked on, so all this could be outdated for all I know. Anyways, that's all from me for today. I hope you gained a new perspective of some of these games and maybe give some of these genres a second shot. I myself will probably make a couple shmup videos, but tell me if I missed a little subsection you were hoping to see down below, and if I'm too slow to come out with it, make it yourself, pussy.